Alright, this is the last Ro64 matchup, which may or may not mean anything to you, because you might very possibly be watching these out of order, so whatever, who knows, but this is the last one that I will be able to cover because it's the last one that there is, and this will clean off the round, and I'm going to feel real good about that. So, we will be moving to the round of 32 next, and for now, though, let's look at the bans. Drunken Master and Puppet Master being removed by the Legion side in this game between Danny Plis and Russian Idiots. So, we'll see which side. I don't know, Russian Idiots. It's kind of funny. I'm always a fan of some self-deprecating humor. But the Master's being removed by the Legion side. Perhaps they'll get rid of Master Barms next. Get it? Because they're Masters. I'm really embracing the idiots part of that, Russian idiots. Parasite and Kronos being removed by Hellborn side, so Parasite, again, being targeted in the early bans. A little surprising to me. I'm not a huge fan of that hero, but whatever. Kronos also getting taken out. Not a big surprise there, as Kronos is an extremely powerful hero, no doubt, so well done to them with the bans. And Puppet Master and Drunken also very, very strong heroes, so certainly makes plenty of sense that those would get removed early on. DM in particular is just sort of amazing, and to an extent that I think some teams perhaps haven't realized yet how good that hero is. He's just so damn powerful. Kraken, the first pick here, who'll lead the side, so a really good pick there. Obviously with the 3-lane potential, does well in the late game, very strong ganker, good team fighter, really everything you want in a hero, so except for maybe push, doesn't push all that well, but pretty much everywhere else is powerful. Good escape mechanism, strong laning. It's just there's very little about that hero that's not good.
Rhapsody.
But will be countered by the Ophelia, typically considered the strongest jungler, but hasn't seen too much play recently as a result of the changes to the woods and the slight nerf to her. I do think she's not picked up as much as she should be, especially considering how powerful I think she still is, but the thing you have to consider in these lower tier games between two teams we've never really heard of before, exactly how good is your Ophelia player. And if your Ophelia player is really good, then absolutely pick that hero. But it's better to pick a hero you can play than a hero you can't play, just because the hero you can't play is typically considered a more viable competitive hero, or is a better hero, or whatever. So if they've got a good Ophelia player, by all means pick it. If you don't, then perhaps pass it up, because you're probably not going to do very well with a hero that you can't play. Anyway, perhaps even the second pick here on the Legion side, so following up one of the more versatile and strong heroes with the best support in the game, and Legion side is off to a real good draft here, as they're looking for perhaps a Suicide and perhaps a short laner, perhaps a jungler, we'll see. The Hellborn banned out Parasite, so Tempest, the last of the big three available, especially because we don't see Keeper of the Forest jungle too much anymore. But then there's also the secondary junglers like Solstice, Warbeast, and Legionnaire. Solstice we do see a fair bit of, and perhaps it's more appropriate to elevate him to that fourth jungler spot over Keeper of the Forest, especially because we almost never see Keeper in general, much less jungling. Although really when we do see him, he's mostly jungling, so maybe that's not really accurate. But Hellborn going to counter the best support in the game, in my opinion, in Rhapsody, with one of the other probably top 3 in Torture. So no doubt a very strong pick there, one of the better zoning supports in the game. And with the Ophelia in the woods, leads me to believe that they're going for the defensive dual lane with the hard carry in the top and Torture helping to zone out. So perhaps looking for a solo mid laner and a Suicide here. Bubble's getting her taken up though by the Legion side, and that's probably going to be a Suicide. So a real good pick there, not just because it fits the lineup well. Obviously the team fight with Kraken and Rhapsody, very powerful, strong push, strong gang potential. Well, decent push with the Shell Surf, helps clean up creep wave, doesn't do too much damage to towers, but decent enough push. And of course the good gang potential with Kraken and Rhapsody to some extent. And also takes away the option from the Hellborn, because that's a hero that would have fit their lineup very, very well. Bubbles does pretty well with Ophelia, helping lock people down for the Ophelia minions with the Kelp Field, obviously doing some solid magic damage, and just being a powerful early to mid game hero that pairs well with Oath and Torture, who are similar in that regard. And it will instead be the TDL, so not that big a surprise, I guess, that they're going for the short laner here, as I said before. Likely that they would go for the defensive dual lane with the Torture babysit, and it is going to be the Dark Lady as the hard carry. So we'll see how that works out for them. I think I might have preferred to see them pick up a solo laner like Wretched Hag before they did that, just because there are so many short laners that can fit in various lineups, and at this point perhaps picking up a short laner not the most impressive thing, especially because Legion now can target their bans on Suicides and solos, knowing that they're looking for 2 solo laners at this point, so I would take the Hag out as quickly as possible. Bensington probably also should be the focus of a ban. Warbeast instead of the first ban, so that's alright, I guess, but not super great. But I'd be looking to take out, yeah, Wretched Hag here, Sir Bensington. What else? Maybe CD? No, probably not CD. Good solo laner, but not really in this lineup. Rally could be removed as he has both mid and suicide potential. Definitely would make sense there. Perhaps even a Magnus. But there are a few options for the Hellboard side to pick up their 2 solo laners. I think Hag is still the big one. Ravener getting taken out as well. And that's... Ravener I substantially disagree with, because Ravener is not a solo laner. We almost never see a Rav solo, especially in the middle lane. If you are ever going to see that, it's going to be a solo top as the short laner. And in a situation where they're sure that he's going to get strong farm, which usually means a melee suicide against him. So I don't really see Rav fitting in this lineup. Master of Arms, similar situation, just not a solo laner. So they're... I mean, the Torture Dark Lady is going to be the top lane, and they banned out 3 heroes, 2 of which actually aren't solo laners. Warbeast is a pretty solid ban. Obviously, that hero could go suicide. Not seen too much anymore, so I'm not sure I agree with that either. But Legion's ban's a little bit odd here. Tempest, Pestilence, and Dr. Repulsor are being removed by Hellborn's side, so yeah, that makes sense. I think the Tempest obviously removed the jungle potential. Very good idea. Rhapsody could lane with Pestilence to make one of the better lanes in the game, as that's usually a very strong combination. Of course, Doctor with Rhapsody in the bottom lane could also work. So 3 bans from Hellborn making plenty of sense, and they instead will go for the Moon Queen here, which is a really great pickup. Obviously, Kraken and Bubbles. Yeah, and they see. Yeah, that's why I wanted to ban them, because Bensington's available. But it's going to be Moon Queen and Rhapsody in the bottom lane, Kraken in the middle, Bubbles in the suicide, and now we're looking for either a second support or a jungler. And they're soft picking Raw here, so it'd be interesting to see him, because he'd be jungling then. But I think at this point it's pretty obvious when you see a Rhapsody, Moon Queen bottom. It will be a Plague Rider. So that's going to be a second support, Plague, and... I don't like the tri-lane here. I don't feel... They got 2 stuns, which is good, and one of them's pretty long range, the Moonbeam, which is also good. Plague Rider doesn't seem like a great tri-lane hero to me, but it doesn't seem like a real great dual lane hero either. I suspect what they're going to do is the Suicide Bubbles with Kraken Rhapsody middle, Moon Queen Plague Rider bottom, but I'm not a real big fan of that. Okay. So Legion's draft, a little odd. I liked it until the Plague Rider pick. I think I would prefer either a jungler or a second support that would have done well in a tri-lane. Run the MQ tri-lane and make sure that she gets off to a real good start, especially because of the Dark Lady and the other team. You have to make sure your hard carry goes awesome. Hellborn side with the Gravekeeper last pick, quite interesting. I loved Bensington's decision, that made a ton of sense to me, so he'll be suiciding. But he's going to be in the woods. And now I'm wondering if we're going to see TDL Torture middle. Because GK doesn't seem like a great mid hero, especially because he's almost certainly going to be able to use a dual lane in the middle. It seems much better to stick him against the Suicide Bubbles up top, where he might actually be able to do some stuff, but he's so damn squishy, Bubbles might actually be able to kill him, but I don't know. This could also be a 2-1. This is going to be a 2-1-2. So, yeah, we're going to see Plague Rider Kraken top, Rhapsody Moon Queen bottom, Bubbles middle. And obviously Bensington heading to the suicide, not a huge surprise there, should be just fine. And we'll see what they choose to do, but yeah, if they predict this, and they very well might, then you want to see the Torture Dark Lady in the top lane, the Gravekeeper in the middle, because he'll be just fine against Bubbles. Not the greatest lane for him, I don't think. And Bubbles perhaps a little bit of advantage just because he has the magical burst damage and Gravekeeper doesn't. Gravekeeper relies a lot on harass, so he's great against opposing melee laners, but not super good against ranged heroes that can just avoid his auto attacks, which are very strong. I'm not a huge fan of Gravekeeper. I don't know. I don't like either of the last picks from either side. honestly. I mean, I really would have liked to see the Hag on Hellborn. I think that would have fit this line really, really well. They don't have that much magical damage. She would provide a lot. She would have provided really good initiation and follow-up initiation on top of the Bensington. She would have provided burst damage, which they don't have too much of. And she would have been just fine in that middle lane by herself, either against a dual lane or a solo lane, and that would have allowed the guaranteed top dual lane. So it is going to be the top dual lane here with TDL and Torture. So this is going to go pretty well for them as they're up against the Kraken and Plague Rider here. Top lane, therefore, going to definitely be in the advantage of Hellborn, as they obviously have the short lane on top of a really strong zoning support in Torture, and some nice laning ability from TDL. But it won't be that big a win. It's not going to be like, oh, this is an obvious victory for you, especially because Plague Rider will be able to get the lane control with the deny. But the charging strikes to will probably mean that TDL will have a pretty solid time up here. And Kraken not being too aggressive so far. Middle lane GK versus Bubbles. I do favor the Bubbles here because, again, of the magical burst damage that he's got. So GK, it seems like it's unlikely he'll be able to do much and actually kill this Bubbles, just because he won't be able to get the harass damage he needs to get the kill. And Bubbles, meanwhile, can, even if he doesn't get that much harass damage, can pretty quickly deal a bunch of damage to a relatively squishy hero in Gravekeeper. And bottom lane, no surprise, should be going in favor of the Legion side, as they do not even have a blocked pull. And they have a dual lane here with Rhapsody up against Bensington, pretty much, and Moon Queen just being like, alright, you guys fight, and I will take all the farm. So, perhaps favoring the Legion a little bit in terms of lanes, which is good because they have the Ophelia, the Woods, and the Hellborn side. And that's going to prove to be an advantage in resources in general, because it just is. Obviously, you have an extra farmer on the team, and you're able to get more gold, get more experience, and that plays well as the game goes later. But I think a big question here is going to be this top lane, because whoever wins this very well could win the game. If this TDL gets shut down early, it's going to be a pretty serious issue for the Hellborn side, because having the Ophelia is really nice, but they need this TDL to get off to a good start. If they don't and Moon Queen starts exploding, then that could be ugly. And similar thing with Kraken, honestly. Kraken can snowball really, really hard. So if he's able to get some solid GPMs here, get a relatively early portal key, and start ganking, especially with Bubbles in tow, that could become a pretty serious issue. Plague Rider continuing to harass and deny the lane, making sure that they have lane control. Off to the side here, we will see a pull, or a stack first by Torture, and then a pull. Forward of sight obviously giving plenty of vision as to what's going on. Middle lane here, 12 and 3 Bubbles compared to GK at 10 and 4, so Bubbles already winning the lane, and of course it has the damage advantage as well, so things going pretty well for the Legion so far in that regard. Bottom lane 16 and 2, now 17 and 2 for Moon Queen, compared to Bensington at 7 and 2. So Bensington actually getting a fair few number of last hits, not the worst. I think they really got to compare it more accurately though to Dark Lady, who is up top 17 and 0, so similar actual creep kills, but Moon Queen with more denies. And speaking of that top lane, Kraken is at 13-0, so he's outdoing the opposing Suicide, which is obviously something that sort of needs to happen considering the presence of the jungler on the Hellborn team, and the fact that that will increase their overall farm.
It only hurts the
bottom line, though, eventually. Benson getting hit by the Moonbeam, a couple more auto attacks, and that's going to go
That felt good, didn't it?
Obviously, that's not a great thing here, as Moon Queen is nearly at 400 GPM thanks to the bubbles, to the Bloodlust and the strong creep farm she's been getting. Also, that's going to prevent Bensington from being able to do very much in this lane. So we've seen more and more Bensington, and I think this goes down to what I was talking before about the Ophelia, is I'm not sure that a lot of these lower division teams are particularly adept at playing him. He is not easy to do. Like, it's not just a hero that, oh yeah, you just win without knowing how to play it. It's similar to Kronos, actually, in that matters. Kronos can get destroyed in the Suicide lane. It's just knowing how to play him makes him extremely powerful, and a lot of these higher tier competitive teams know how to play it. But this is perhaps the second or third time we've seen a Benzington just get totally destroyed in the bottom lane as a suicide, which is not something we're used to seeing in competitive games. As in general, he's just extremely powerful. And I think it's just he's not using his lance long enough. Usually you see it spammed pretty effectively, and I'm not sure. I mean, I spent not that much time watching this lane, but I don't think I've seen it used once. But Rhapsody off here will be perhaps pulling this wave, or is he just going to stack it? Yeah, will in fact pull it. Try and get some lane control back. So, Benzington, use your lance along, not on a crit on the Moon Queen. Bravey running here with a haste rune, but obviously MQ saw that coming and is way gone. Phase Boots activated, and she'll be just fine. Benzington will get some CS here, which is nice. But it's not going to be a long-term solution, especially because Bubbles is now just taking that time to free farm in the middle. Top lane, Kraken doing pretty well, 250 gold per minute here, and 315 on TDL, so obviously she's the best farmer on her team, but two good farmers here in Kraken and Bubbles on the leading side, and the best farmer of the game in Moon Queen. As a result, they're keeping things relatively even, despite the fact that Ophelia is in the woods, only farming 200 gold per minute though, so not the biggest threat, and not the most difficult to out-GPM. Okay, she just faked the Eclipse, I was like, or the Moon Finale. Meanwhile, over here in the middle lane, Benzington looking for a setup onto Bubbles, is level 6, and has most of his health and all of his mana, so this is going to be a little difficult to do. Does not have Take Cover, in fact, has level 3 Shell Surf, and will up one Song of the Sea. So he must be holding a point here. And will miss the Joust here, that's a bit of an issue. Kelfield goes down, now Benzington's in a lot of trouble, will take the tower damage, and he's just totally dead. So that was not a great play. Ultimate coming out from Gravekeeper though, and they will get the counter kill onto Bubbles, so they do actually get the Bubbles kill, which is nice, but losing Benzington in the process, perhaps not the greatest, especially because that means Moon Queen's just been free farming this bottom lane. Although I guess that's not that much different than what she was doing before. Supporting back middle here. Benzington returns to his bottom lane, but still here. 167 gold per minute. Not doing the greatest. Staccato's going down there from Rhapsody. Lancelot does hit. Yeah, thank you. So MQ continuing to just be an extremely strong farmer here at the bottom lane, nearly 400 gold per minute, and 330 on reaching his pop there. 330. Meanwhile, up top, Kraken taking a bunch of damage. We got to see the gank here from Ophelia or from Gravekeeper, and that's going to be a death on him. Ophelia did come in as well, but GK obviously the one who's actually doing stuff there. Bottom lane, Benzington will get zoned out, and he did pick up a regen, I think. Nope, it's aced. Bubbles could be in some trouble here. Taking a bunch of harass from GK, and now he could pop the haste and run. Interesting. Instead of the Shell Surf down, you'd think, oh, yeah, go for the haste. Try to get the kill. Benzington is coming over here. Will spot Bubbles, and you will see Benzington coming over and be like, yeah, I'm gone. But Rhapsody here will also see Benzington. Kelfield is available, so they might go for a turn kill here. Staccato stuns go down on top of the Kelfield, and that's an easy kill on Benzington. Up top, meanwhile, we see Kraken get jumped onto the chain reactions, plus the Minotaur stomp, and he just can't go anywhere. Nice last kill with the Ophelia's Judgment. she manages to pick up a nice kill on Kraken there. So ends up being 1 for 1, still 3 for 3 in hero kills. Hellborn taking a slight advantage in experience and gold, but not something particularly impressive. MQ getting a Whispering Helm here. Staccato's on top of the Moonbeam. Ultimate coming out from MQ, not actually going to go off. Faked it once again. Meanwhile, GK's here, but that's going to be an ultimate. And it's going to be eaten by the GK creeps, though. She's actually not getting hit by any of it. And Moon Queen now going to be in a lot of trouble, as there's the Lance Long. Will finish her off, so... Man, that MQ ultimate gets eaten by Gravekeeper. And that might be the reason they chose to use that hero. I did not think of that. So, really valuable kill there on Moon Queen, as well as that puts Dark Lady as the top farmer in the game. And obviously, they needed to start addressing that MQ because she was sort of getting out of hand, obviously already having the Whispering Helm on top of the phase boots.
The Hellborn have destroyed a Legion tower.
Ghost Marchers, whatever you want to call them. Middle lane, GK has a double damage room, but there's 2 supports for the Legion side looking to collapse onto him. Staccato stuns are going to be there, going to put him right into Plague Rider, and there's going to be the Plague Rider nuke as well with the bubbles, and that's an easy kill. So, that's the problem with GK. Super squishy, 850 health right here, no escape mechanism. So, he does a lot of damage, which is really nice, but not the greatest here. MQ looking for something, but actually takes the Lance Long and takes a bunch of damage. Could be really careful about this. Joust away from Benzington, not going for the kill, but still doing plenty of damage here. Now you're in trouble, buddy. Staccatos are going to go down there, a couple more auto attacks, and that's an easy kill. So choosing to go back in without the Joust available, perhaps not the greatest idea. And Legion side picking up a couple of much-needed kills there, especially for that Moon Queen, who is looking to get back above the Dark Lady. Not quite able to do so yet. TDL approaching 400 gold per minute. And MQ at 380. Could like to push on the spot tower, though, as it is going to be pretty heavily pressured. And this is definitely going to be a tower kill.
The Legion have destroyed a Hellborn tower.
So, first tower of the game going to the Legion, and Ophelia is here though to try to even up that score. Top tower is not super low, but obviously Ophelia minions helping to push out quite a lot. Torture obviously here as well with the Impalement will make it difficult to defend this. And this is definitely going to be a top tower push and a top tower kill. It's really nothing that the Legion side can do about this.
The Hellborn have destroyed a Legion tower.
We see jump here on a Plague Rider, chain reaction to get taken. That's going to be an easy kill. Kraken perhaps not in the wrong position now, as Nightfall will come down. Joust not going to hit. Killfield actually onto 3. And Release the Kraken also gets dropped. Nice intro, and Rhapsody ultimately to save. This is going to be a cleanup crew for Legion. 3 kills, 4 kills now. Everything dies. So, really, really good ultimate usage there. Release the Kraken on top of the Kelpfield. And I believe the Moon Queen ultimate was used there, yeah. And then Rhapsody, of course, saving everything. And that's what I was talking about before. The team fight here was just really powerful. The ulti synergy is very good. And that could be the difference between in this game right now for the Legion side. Lots of supports coming in top 4, actually. So they will defend this top tower. And looking for a killer where they're not going to find one. MQ way too far away, even for the Joust. Plague Rider might want to be a little careful. But they will get the kill on the board, so... About to expire anyway, not a big deal. Ultimate being dropped here on Bubbles, but he actually covers the nuke, and he'll just be able to walk away. Mid tower also fell. I did not realize that, so... Hellborn actually with the 2 tower kill advantage then. Nonetheless, the Legion do have a golden experience lead, as they're up 9-5 in hero kills. And it's a real battle of the GPMs here between MQ and TDL. MQ overtaking her her opponent once again, And Bubbles a little bit further behind at 370 gold per minute, obviously having a really good game as well. But the rest of the Hellborn side are doing pretty well themselves. I feel like obviously nearly 300 gold per minute, 300 GPM for Gravekeeper. Benzington not doing quite as well as Kraken, his opposing Suicide, but Kraken wasn't even really a Suicide. Kraken was like a second initiator there in the top lane, considering he had some support in Plague Rider. Bottom lane Bubbles will be doing some farming. And Kraken going for a Helm here. Portal also picked up on Bubbles. That's pretty damn fast. MQ has a Firebrand on top of her Whispering Helm. Probably looking for the Shrunken Head next, especially considering the magical damage coming out from Torture and GK. Maybe. She may choose to forego that for a while. Geometer's Bane might actually be better. I'm not sure there's enough magical damage from Hellborn side to justify a Shrunken, especially this early on. Off to the side here, that is the real Bubbles, getting chased down. Moonbeam goes onto GK though, and the Kelfield will only hit her. Scott stuns onto Benson in the back, but the ultimate from Ophelia gonna help her stay alive. MQ getting the front lines, taking much damage, but Rhapsody ultimate will cause him to back off. Nightfall onto Rhapsody here, but that's gonna be an ultimate from MQ. Will be eaten by all the Moon Queen creeps though. It's gonna be a couple of kills for both sides. I'm going to try to turn this on to Bubbles once again, and he's going to have some issues coming out of here as his Shell Surf is down. He will drop, so it ends up being a 3 for 2 in favor of the Hellborn side, as they lose TDL and Benzington in exchange for Bubbles, Rhapsody, and Plague Rider. So actually probably in favor of Legion. TDL died there, and MQ didn't. Two of the heroes that lost to the Legion were support, so that's not even that big a deal. I'm going to call it at least an even trade, I think. As MQ is just going to continue to take off here, so obviously the numbers advantage inside of that in favor of the Hellborn, but in terms of which heroes they killed, getting that TDL dead very, very important, especially because she did choose to go for the Ring Cleaver, so she's going heavy farm. She's trying to get to the late game, and spending 30 plus seconds dead at this point in the game is extremely not good. Ancient stacking going on here with that Whispering Helm creep and Plague Rider. MQ should be able to clean this up relatively easily. Mid-lane Torture and Kraken sort of going at it, and MQ's looking for a jump off to the side. There's the Torrent on top of the Moonbeam, and he's in a lot of trouble. Torture will drop, and MQ actually is going to be in a lot of trouble as well. Ends up being a really good trade for Hellborn as they lose Torture for Moon Queen, so the bait there is successful. Kraken now in some trouble as well. Drops Luis to Kraken, but he's still going to... Ooh, nice. Rhapsody ultimate going to save that, and meanwhile, Ophelia will fall. Ultimate coming out on here as Gravekeeper drops as well, but Scott stuns will hit Benzington. Kraken somehow still alive. Shell Surf on the way through. Joust is not going to hit Kraken, and he dies as the Splash Auto attack finishes him off. TDL going to be the only one left alive, and she needs to be real careful about this. In fact, she's also going to drop, so it ends up being a genocide for the Legion side, losing Moon Queen, which is not great, but they'll take the kills. That's a 5 for 1, and even if you have to lose your carry there, that's worth it. Also going to be a mid-tower push, as Kraken, they're just tanky enough to survive. Benzington missing a Joust once again here. Torture in the background. No mana on Bubble, so he won't be able to do too much as Torture is trying to back everybody off, but really nobody has any mana, so not really in too much danger there. Ends up being the mid-tower kill, no surprise. As the follow-up from the Legion side is just so good. Their team fight is extremely powerful. Didn't even mention the Plague Rider ultimate. They really do have 5 ultimates here that are really good in team fights. And I think that's going to lead me to believe that the Legion side are going to end up taking this game. I think it'd be one thing if TDL was substantially ahead of the Moon Queen in terms of farm, but the 5 ultimates here, especially considering 2 of them, and the Kelfield and the Release of Kraken, are really good at keeping people in place, and the other two are really good at doing a ton of damage for that Moon Queen and the Plague Rider, if they're kept in place. And then of course you have the defensive Rhapsody ultimate, so they work really well together as well. you know, you can't move and now you're gonna die. And we won't. So. Double Ancients here looking to get tripled by TDL and Torture. Should be a similar thing for the Legion Ancients. So there goes the stack on both sides, and TDL will be able to clean this up, get some GPM, which is really important because she's not taking off nearly as quickly as she needs to. 370 gold per minute, actually a bit below where she was even maybe 10 minutes ago. And she doesn't need help, people. This is not going to be good if she doesn't get pretty much all of these CS. She loses a couple there, one to Torture and one to Ophelia. It's not the biggest loss in the world, but probably not helping all that much either. I'm looking to pick up an Abyssal Skull, and that's definitely a good decision, obviously. One of the more powerful items in the game, not only is it a team fight item, but lifesteal without having to use your attack modifier. Yes, please. MQ looking for a Shrunken Head herself. Rhapsody actually has an Astrolabe on top of a Mana Tube. She's sitting at 210 gold per minute. So I'm guessing here Plague Rider taking care of most of the wards. He has a major totem, so perhaps looking for an Energizer or a Push Book. I think Energizer might actually be the right choice here. Not too much stuff that's really valuable to get Push Booked out of. It's generally a really powerful item, so I can't say, oh, you shouldn't get it. It's always valuable, but Energizer might actually be more valuable in this type of situation. Kraken finishing the Soul's Bulwark on top of his helm. Bubbles going for a Sheepstick, I assume, with the Ultimate Orb. Definitely the correct decision considering they have a TDL. That CC can be very powerful. You know, Moon Queen, you keep faking that ultimate, one time you're going to miss and you're going to have it go off, and that's going to be real bad for you. Hellborn items, Portal Key on Gravekeeper, not a huge surprise, obviously, as a heavy gang hero wants the initiation potential. Ophelia pick up the Astrolabe for the Hellborn side, very valuable as well. Hopefully looking for Plated Greaves, and perhaps to start pushing stuff down. 22 minutes into this game, and they still have a bot tower that hasn't been touched. Meanwhile, Legion side are going to group up here in top lane and try to take out this top tower. Should be successful. And so looking for any sign of the Hellborn side, and they're not going to find it because they're all grouping up bottom. And they're actually going to see a couple of ports down here as well, so we're going to defend this bot tower. Top tower drops, and they're going to use the glyph down here to try to stop this push, but with only 2 heroes here, it's not going to happen. Man, that thing's dying quickly. We're going to see a port, actually. Kelfield on a 4. Actually, maybe even 5. Ultimate for Plague Rider coming out, taking a bunch of damage. Moon Queen ultimate getting dropped on top of the release of Kraken. Suffering on that Torture will drop, as well as Ophelia. Off to the side, and 2 heroes are going to leave. So, they do lose the bot tower, but they get a couple of kills for it, and it is in fact denied. Everybody else ports out. I think the Ophelia might have TP'd somebody back. But yet another 1 engagement here for the Legion side. They're looking real good. Portal Key picked up on Kraken, so their initiation got that much better. And they're looking to follow this up with a secondary bot tower push. Should be successful, as they have plenty of right-click damage.
The Legion have destroyed a Hellborn tower.
Benzington notably won for a Shrunken Head, very valuable item, and perhaps that really should be TDL's next item. They had a lot of magic damage on the Legion side. Kelfield released to Kraken, and of course the Moon Queen ultimate, Rhapsody Staccatos, Plague Rider ultimate. So much magic, and that's doing a ton of work right now. Arguable that she should have gone for that before the Abyssal Skull. And really, she probably should have. I might even say arguable, she should have. Double Ancients here will be cleaned up. Geobane picked up by MQ on top of the Shrunken Head, so her farm again at nearly 600 gold per minute, and she's just... MQ, man, you gotta shut her down early, because she does this. And now it's the situation of what can we do to stop it? And the answer, I think, might be nothing. Unless, 440 gold per minute, so TDL's stepping it up there. The issue is so's Moon Queen, so unless TDL all of a sudden pulls 100 GPM out of her pocket, I think this game is getting close to over, just because the Legion side is just looking real powerful here. The team fight is so good. The push may not even be quite as good as the Hellborns. The issue is the Legion can push as a team, and the Hellborn can't, because the Legion are going to take all these team fights. They have the ultimates there. They've got the damage output. They've got the initiation potential, they have defense, they've got everything that they want in a team fight, and Hellborn are just going to have... They're going to have push, but they're going to be like, well, we can push stuff down, but if we actually get initiated on, we have to leave, so the only way we can actually push is if the Legion ignore our push, which they won't do. Geomain illusions will be killed, and the glyph already used as well, so MQ forced to back off here. Invis Bubble scouting everything out as the entire Hellborn team is over here. Ooh, drops Rev Ward there. That could be really bad if he goes back in. Perhaps looking for a jump on the secondary tower here. We'll do some creep clearing. So Ballista gonna help do some damage down here. GK is gonna stop that as quickly as he can. Kill the Ballista, dude. Off to the side, looking for a jump here on GK. Counter portal key though, and that's not going to be enough. As 4 heroes here for the Legion side. Find him and kill him very easily. Bubble's getting close to that sheep stick now, 3,200 gold. MQ perhaps looking to finish off her Symbol of Rage. About 2,000 gold away from that, but at her pace. Actually, Kraken jump here onto Ophelia, and that's going to be a pretty easy kill.
The Legion have destroyed a Hellborn tower.
Hellfield will also catch Benson. He'll just take the stun, but the Shell Surf actually not going to hit. They're going to know where he is, though, and he's going to have to try to get out of this. Not going to be the easiest thing to do. Joust up in a couple of seconds, so he's going to have to get the hell out of here. Not going to happen. Didn't even try for the joust. Interesting. Moon Queen up top, meanwhile, just pushing in things by herself, and TDL and Torch are going to try to just stop it, but can they? Not sure. Those glaives, man. Just doing so much damage. Chain reactions do hit. But again, just gonna continue to pound this tower damage in. And now Torture, not gonna get chased down. Mid lane, meanwhile, will get killed as well. So MQ pushing by herself, just being like, yeah, come at me, bro.
The Legion have destroyed a
my team will
tower.
kill the rest of this top tower. GK gonna pour it in on top, but that's gonna be a nice ultimate from MQ. Totally baited it. And will not be able to get the kill, actually. I think it's the uphill miss, but Moon Queen should be fine as her teammate is coming in. Actually, no, she's going to drop. Rhapsody going to fall as well, but they will finally get the kill on TDL, so it ends up being a 2-for-1 at this point. Bubble's trying to run away. Should be okay. Joust being faked here. Kraken getting locked down. He's going to drop as well. Joust won't hit, but the Glantalong does. Gets pulled back in, and Bubbles is dropping here. Ends up being a quad kill for Gravekeeper. So the split push there, perhaps not quite as effective, but likely leading to Moon Queen's death as the rest of her team was not nearby, but this is a setback more than a serious game changer, I think. Is that not in range? I feel like it should be. Must be just out of range. GK picking up a Shrunken. I have to imagine TDL has one as well. That's GK's. Convoy now. Looks like it will be attempted. And they're putting a fair bit of damage into this, but with the word of sight here, they probably know this is going on. And the issue is, can they kill it before everybody shows up? And I think they can. So this is going to be a convoy kill for the Legion side, as everybody's respawning now. Sheepstick gets purchased by Bubbles, but they're not going to be able to get here by in time. Wingbow is going to be the choice. Moon Queen
has been slain.
ends up being the token dropped for TDL. Shell Safe doesn't do too much. And they're going to be a little late to the party. TDL charging strikes away. And she'll be alright. They're looking for a pick off here, but they're not going to find one. Everybody's way too far gone. Ancients will instead be cleaned up. MQ perhaps can start pushing the bottom lane. No, we'll see. Shrunken Head is picked up on TDL, so that's going to be a pretty big deal in these team fights. Because a lot of their damage is magical, so at this point trying to kill her is going to be much, much more difficult than it was before. They still have enough right-click auto, I think, from Kraken and Moon Queen to take her down, especially because she isn't particularly tanky, only 1300 life. But she does have lifesteal, and she has a token as well, of course, so without that magical damage, it could be a lot more difficult. And then Ophelia, of course, absorbing stuff with her minions, the Gravekeeper minions absorbing bounces and Plague and Moon Finale beams. Then again, the other three heroes on the Hellborn side do not have Shrunken Head, so they could get taken out relatively quickly. And in a 3v5 or a 2v5, it's a lot easier to kill stuff. So MQ about to hit that 600 GPM mark, picks up a snake bracelet, and is that the finish wing though?
I always felt that fit me.
Good for you, Ophelia. Every so often they say something to me. Do you hear the voices too? Or is it just me? Ophelia speaks to me. I'm going slightly insane. We have pretty much the entire Hellborn team focused around their own agents, which is a little odd, but okay. Perhaps we're going to see a clash here as the Legion are jumping in there onto Ophelia. Get the sheep stick off real quickly. Chain reactions hit bubbles, but that's not going to be enough to save up. Ultimate coming in from Gravekeeper, but lots of shit going down. He's going to die to a bunch of auto attacks. Rhapsody ultimate pretty much immediately canceled, and she drops as well. Plague Ride ultimate going off, does hit a bunch of stuff, but the Shrunken Head up from Dark Lady basically prevents it from doing much damage. Does kill Torture. Token going to be taken off there by as the release Kraken actually gets dropped on her as well, and that's a death. Fenced in off of the side here, does port away, and that's a CC vote, so would not be surprised to see that pass, as the team fight is just continuously so powerful for the Legion side. They have the top racks exposed, GGs are getting called, and that's the game. So, solid drafts, I think, from both sides, the first 4 picks, and the last for each one didn't make too much sense. Like I said before, I think I would prefer the Hag to the GK, and plenty of other support heroes over the Plague Rider, although I do understand why they picked it up now, because obviously the Plague Rider ultimate synergizes well with the rest of the team fight, and so I understand that. But more importantly, it's just a situation where MQ was allowed to get off to a really strong start, and you can't do that. So, well played to both sides. Game obviously goes to the Legion side, and they will move on to the round of 32, and that will wrap up the round of 64 for me, and perhaps not you if you haven't watched everything, and you are going to. And if so, good on you. Keep watching stuff. But that'll do it for this game.